Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Carbon Experts Live. My name's Anna Zarman, and I'll be your host today. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Lissette Campoverde, the LCA Built Environment and Carbon Specialist at Aiguasol, in conversation with Clara Garcia, carbon expert at One Click LCA, the leading end-to-end sustainability platform for construction and manufacturing. Today, we're going to discuss how to leverage LCA as a decision tool for sustainable building design. And just as a quick note, today's Carbon Expert Live episode is brought to you by One Click LCA, the global end-to-end sustainability platform for construction projects and products, with the mission to power the makers of zero carbon future. To learn more about us, visit oneclicklca.com. And I'm so excited now to give the floor to our guest. So, Lissette, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Anna, and thanks for the welcoming. My name is Lissette Campoverde. I am an environmental engineer with a focus on industrial ecology and circular economy. I do sustainability consultancy for a few years already, and I've been working in construction sector the same amount of time, I will say. I joined Aiguasol around in 2022 to be part of the sustainable buildings team and try to engage in LCA and carbon assessment for building projects and manufacturers and so on.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and it's a delight to have you here with us today. And now, Clara, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, so hello everyone. I am Clara Garcia. I am an environmental engineer and specialized in circular economy in construction materials. And I also joined One Click in 2022. And it has been really nice. And I am business developer for Spanish speaking countries, for Spain specifically now.
That's awesome. Thank you, Clara. And passing on, please note that we will be collecting questions and dedicate time for question and answer segment in the end of today's session. And you just drop your questions. We're going to collect them, and Lissette and Clara will answer them later on. So to kick things off, Lissette, please provide a little bit more context for Aiguasol for all of our audience today.
Thank you, Anna. As we say, Aiguasol is an engineering consultant firm that this year is having its 25 years birthday, and we work in the energy and sustainability sector, mainly from Barcelona and the Basque Country, with projects that are located all over the world in Europe, Asia, and Africa. Initially, the company started to give, as we say, creative climate solutions for energy transition in the building sector, but now with the focus more on embodied carbon, we have tried to create this holistic vision for operational and embodied carbon. So now we do both analysis.
Thank you, Liz. So I'm really glad you're here and that we can talk. But also I wanted to ask you, what do we do specifically? In which sectors do you work?
Yeah, we work in. We have 6 departments in our consultancy firm. We have the sustainable building of the department, which is the one I work with. And then we have solutions for energy system, data support solution. We also develop implementation projects, this means that we work not only with engineering and consulting, but also with projects that are running in Spain or all over the world. A bit of cooperation in that regard, and innovation in European projects. In the Sustainable Building Department, we provide the LCA and the carbon expertise across market. We intervene from design stage to the execution of the projects and new construction or rehabilitation projects. So depending on the carbon or the environmental goal, like LEED, BREEAM, or sometimes just the normative that they are handling. And this is why we choose One Click LCA as our motor to handle our carbon assessment.
Thank you, Liz. And I also wanted to ask you, how do you manage to achieve all of these parts in the company? How do you achieve all of these objectives?
Yeah, sorry, I thought we were in the other slides. Well, carbon assessment project, or just in general sustainability consultancy around construction or just industrial project, have several arrows. We think software like One Click LCA or just the software solution are a big tool to solve an interrogative regarding emissions, but it entails a little bit more when you work with big projects, and especially with the amount of stakeholders is not just one, just not directly your client, but you're working with architects or engineers and so on. So we thought that it is really important to establish communication channels so everybody knows their role and how the information, like the data collection, will be optimized or updated, and what is the goal, the environmental or the emission goal, in order to report it.
Okay, and can you show us about your projects, the projects that you are going to present?
Yes, we're going to talk about today about two of my babies, two of the case studies that I worked last year, and one that I'm really keen on is because they show different sides of embodied carbon calculation. The first one is Infinito Delicias, which is a rehabilitation building project located in the Delicias neighborhood in Madrid, and it's the transformation of like an industrial and office building into a 5-story into a cultural center for citizens, enterprises, and foundations. So this one has one intention, and it comes from like a already constructed building. And the other one is VELINDRE Hospital Center, which is located in Cardiff, in Wales, where the aim, the environmental aim, is to get the UK's greenest hospital. And it's like a new research center, cancer center, made of 4-story, designed to serve like 1.5 million people in Wales. And the square meters of this one is a lot more big than the other. So I think these two showcase different intentions, and this is why they were selected. Oh, I think, well, actually, I think we have, it's not showing the initial image. I don't know if you can, it has a tempo.
I don't know. Do you want to see the next slide, Liz?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Well, it's a shame that I cannot, no, we can talk with this one. What I wanted to say is the Infinito Delicias project. It comes from one group or architectural team that decided to preserve the original structure of this office in the industrial part, to convert it into a multifunctional space, research center, event center, and so on. So the architectural conception of it was to introduce. Okay.
Yeah, I think because the slide had animation, so it was a little bit trickier.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And now everybody can see the existing structure. This is why it was a nice image to show, because we can see the existing building, and what is meant to be preserved is most of the existing structure. If you can go ahead and go to the next animation. Yeah, and the intervention of the architectural team is to give strength to the facade and just to engage all of these bioclimatic efforts that they want to put into 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 their goals, no? And regarding the new materials that are added, well, they were focused more on regenerative materials like biodegradable insulation or cord insulation or local sources. And if they are coming from wood, that they are sustainably harvested and so on. So, yeah, can you give it to the next one, please? And yeah, now we can see the one that we were seeing before. These are all of the strategies that were used in this project. So aside from keeping the structure and using regenerative materials, we also have the bioclimatic goals that they want to achieve, just to improve the energy and operational consumption. Okay, yeah, next. So, what do we need to do in order to have this to have a result? Like every carbon project, we need to start with a benchmark or like baseline reference, which we define was to compare the traditional versus a rehabilitation project, because this is what they wanted to see. What are we gaining in emissions if we are doing a rehabilitation project? And then just the system boundaries and just how allocated was our project, what parts of the building we were going to include and what parts were out of it. We are analyzing embodied carbon, and we are doing all of the building parts. I think you can go next. Thanks. And yeah, here we have a little bit more of what I was telling before, the tool we use, the objectives of the project, the method, the impact categories that we were using. In construction, most of the normative is referred to upfront carbon. So we produce everything regarding our project mostly in terms of upfront carbon. But we did calculate the whole carbon assessment. And as I was mentioning before, here you can see that they are the client, the architectural, and the structural engineering. So this is why it's important to have the horizontal communication channel. And here we have the project results. The main concern or the main question that the architectural and design team had was like, what was the gain between a traditional and rehabilitation project? As you can see, it's around 50% of emission reduction in the embodied carbon by reusing the structure and using regenerative materials. It also gives us like a lot of insights of what the use of regenerative materials have on embodied carbon. As you can see, the biogenic carbon, that is something that we are now talking more with more effort. You can see that is 12 times or approximately 12 times the amount of carbon that is produced by this project. So this is why this kind of analysis gains a lot of weight for the discourse, for the architects to keep using this type of designs and focus on regenerative materials and reusing materials from reserve projects. And can you go back? Just I wanted to mention that, like, in this project specifically, most of the biogenic carbon was attributed to the cork insulation that it was used because of the volume of the material and because of the how it reduces the energy consumption, and also how it comes from a natural source. I think it's a lot of carbon reduction. Okay. And finally, the cherry on the cake. This project was awarded to the Holcim Gold Europe Award of last year, and because of the reuse of the structure and the selection of the regenerative materials. So sorry, I cannot see well. Yeah, see. So it was appraised by the jury that the information of this project was the metrics, the outcomes were communicated in a robust and understanding way to understand the project impact and to showcase the reduction of the carbon emission. So for me, this was like a really nice thing to hear from the organization of the award, because it showcased how the LCA is a tool to engage and to I don't know, to optimize the design. And we are going to talk about the second case now, which is
Liz, before we go to the second case, can I ask you some things that I was planning? Okay, so can I ask you which is the biggest benefit you can say about choosing bio-based materials in this project that you were doing?
I would say that the carbon sequestration that they have, it's a little bit tricky because we're usually comparing ourselves with upfront carbon, and sometimes the biogenic benefits are only showcased in the D section. But I think, like, the carbon sequestration is one of the best indicator or the best benefit of using bio-based. And I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it answers. Thank you. And also wanted to ask you if you could see also benefits on refurbishing rather than having the building as a new building completely, or leaving the older one. Like, I mean, you show the impact difference, but also as someone that have seen a lot of buildings, like, do you really see the difference, the impact, the beneficial impact that it has?
Well, I think most of the impacts is usually in like A1, A3, like which is the extraction of the materials, like, of course, and then we in the stage 2, when we have the replacement, if it's a building element that has like few years, like windows or doors or something like that, it has more impact because the time frame is more frequent. But when it comes to structure, I think, yeah, like, it reduces. It's a double reduction because you're reducing the extraction and you're reducing the replacement. So I think that can answer a little bit your question.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Liz.
Okay. So we can go to the next slide. And here we have the second case, which is the new VELINDRE Cancer Center, the hospital in Cardiff. This project has, I think, it showcased the same amount of stakeholders, but the communication channel, it has to be constructed through a digital cloud, because the amount of team of stakeholders that involve construction and hospital project from scratch is huge. So in this project, it was more interesting to try to understand which information come from where and where decisions are being taken and so on. So the reference period is the same, 60 years, and the same as the system boundary. This, as I mentioned, aimed to be the highest performing low energy hospital and the greenest hospital in the UK. And as a private certification, they want to have, because this project is still ongoing, outstanding or excellent building certification, and the alignment in respect to normative for like mandatory. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. It's a bit more demanding because they have several normatives that are currently in the UK, like the hospital, the NHS upfront carbon limit, the RIVA 2030, LETI, become a net zero building, and so on. So the objectives were high, and we also needed to have a different role. One was to support the decision on the structural and architectural design teams on the solution, which one has the best carbon emission performance, and also to generate the overall figure for the whole hospital in stage 3 and stage 4 of the project. And we follow the same method, the CML 4.1, and as a framework, we use the professional standard 1 and 2nd edition for whole life carbon assessment, and the National Healthcare Service Net Zero Building Standard. We work with this project at 2 stages. One was the spatial coordination, so you have less information about the technical design, and then in the stage 4, the detailed design, which was where we work day by day with the architects and engineers. So the baseline reference for the previous stage was set at 350, and yeah, that was challenging, because sometimes what happens in some of these projects is like you did not do the other part of the previous stage. So sometimes LCA are constructed with missing information or with projections that are not realistic. So sometimes that part of dealing with the client's expectation and so on is something that I think each LCA enthusiast and a performance is used to. And yeah, as we mentioned before, here we had to gain our information from budgets and just the BIM modeling done in the construction cloud and so on. So if you can go to the next slide. What I did not mention is like the building unit composition is like a basement, a semi-buried floor, and 2 floors up, and it's a common area of 55,000 square meters. So the design team, which is the architectural team and also the structural engineering team, it's what we consider the design team. So the hierarchy that they have to perform or to reduce carbon is the same that it's advised for each of these projects, which is like build nothing, build less, build clever, and build efficiently. So the flag of this project was to really optimize the use of volumes and reduce the materials that are impactful. Like if we have to use concrete, then let's use the one that has the most recycled amount of it, or let's try to reshape our concrete solution so we need less, and so on. So like I mentioned here, we use reinforced concrete with 50% of GGBS, the use of how we can maximize the use of timber and beams for the slab, and so on. Can we go to next? And the elements considered, well, yeah, what I was mentioning before, the basement, the parade floor, the 2 stories, and the top floor for facilities. We work in the stage 3 on substructure and superstructure, and during the stage 4, we went deep on the superstructure, in the facade, and the built-in service, which is a big area. Next slide, please. And now the fun part. Here, this is one of the things that I'm mostly proud of, because what I was mentioning before is that the design team had to use the less amount of material, or using the one that refers to the lowest environmental shape. So the bunker area, the foundation were constantly analyzed, and we were doing scenarios of different configurations to try to find which one produces per square meter the lowest amount of environmental. Sometimes it is difficult because especially with foundations and with the main structure, the arrow is focused on the technicality of performance and so on, and it's different because with the facade and the structure, it is important, like the technical performance. Of course, everything is important, but especially in these 2 areas, it is tricky sometimes to choose some environmental solution that is not proven, or some material that is not available in the amounts that is required. So this is why we find out that this kind of drawing of scenarios was very useful, and in most of the cases we reduced half of the environmental footprint on each of the scenario drawn. And the other thing that we used One Click as a main tool here was to compare and search. As we evaluate the constructive solution, we compare the materials and to each of the type of beam that we were going to use in the hospital, which is the beams represent a lot of volume, and so either way it represents a lot of embodied carbon. And then their performance on the market, which of this is the best brand, or where does the performance is usually at, and which level. And then sometimes we had especially with the architectural team, they were at the stage 4 already defined the materials and the providers. So in the case that we were showing a high embodied carbon consumption, we were asked to provide assistance on new types of materials or providers and so on, in order to lower the embodied carbon.
And here I want to ask you, Liz, how complicated it was, because to me it looks a lot complicated, like to make a whole team and even several teams to join with the same mindset that you have of trying to reduce the impact, and like all the teams going on the same direction. How complicated is that? How did you do it?
Well, it's knocking doors, I think. One of the things that is really important is that for me at least, how I feel some projects, when the environmental target is set as a major thing from the startup, from the client, and not meritive or normative, then it goes down to each of the teams, to the service team, to the electrical team, to the architectural team of the facades, so to the ones doing the structures and so on. This project work on stages, and within each stage we work with parts. So we had, like, for example, delivery of this part. So we work intensively with one team, and then we went to other, and so on. But it's quite hectic, the work, I would say, because I think in construction we work in against time. These projects are usually very time demanding, and if we engineers discover that the concrete is not working the way that they want it in technical, they're not going to pay attention to the environmental performance. So it's like just trying to put the needle where it's supposed to be.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for presenting these two study cases. I think that they're very exciting, especially like I got so excited about the first one that you managed to reduce the carbon like in half, like 50%. That's amazing. And we have like few additional questions, but I think those are more like takeaways. It's more, what do you think are the like future challenges, like if we're looking a little bit in the future and what is coming? So where do you see the industry is going and services going?
When you mean industry, you mean the LCA industry or the
Yeah, I
construction
mean
industry?
like the construction industry. So what are the trends? Like what do you see like in what is the industry's future?
I think definitely it has to be engaged with second-hand markets, like urban mining. For me, is what I feel like overall in the world we need to be promoting this kind of mining. Um, I see that maybe it will, at some point, the real estate will be located at mining and some previous projects, and engaging manufacturers to collect data from EPDs, and especially in the service area sector, which is a sector that is highly complicated in buildings. And I don't know, just going a little bit more digital, I would say, because it's key. You see the amount of work and effort that entails to making an hospital. So imagine have to collect all of this information material by material. Locally, we have EPD and we have software like One Click that facilitate this work, but it doesn't mean that it's not huge. So it is important that we're going through the digitalization of modeling and working collectively into doing this possible for at the same time that they are being constructed or they are being designed simultaneously. I would say that that is.
Yeah, but that's like the amount of information that you need to collect and people you need to have on board is massive.
Yeah, I would say like now that we have AI, maybe some like integrate some of the features of AI to automatize some of the data modeling of, because sometimes you need to build like a whole new model just to do a minimum analysis. So I think AI can be like a really good tool to improve this data gap or just to strengthen our efforts.
That's awesome. So as our next future challenge, what is your opinion? Like, what would you say is the biggest challenge of working on sustainability within the construction sector? So I think you mentioned already a few, but
Yeah, I think for me, I was thinking about this one for a little bit because it can be addressed at like at local level or at the whole sector. And I think what is a little bit challenging is that the economy of the construction projects is is set for 50 years, because usually when you have a building unit is long lasting. So it's sometimes difficult to engage the promoter into thinking about res- not saying recycling, but just understand it as a building stock or like a building unit that can be reused or like a material stock thing, because of the industrial is way more quick. So I think the economy of the construction project is a little bit set to optimize the gains just on one life building unit. So I think that we need to put effort into changing that narrative and to make it just to understand that they're going to stay there, and then if they're going to be stay there and they will be demolished. So we need to address the environmental issues into the economy of the new building projects as well. So they understand the
Actually,
weight of not
oh, sorry.
recycling, of not deconstructing, of not mining on second hand. Yeah, that will be for me one of the current biggest challenges. I don't know what
So I
you think,
wanted
Clara.
to also say, Liz, that it's really interesting because one colleague and I went to an event, and there they said that one way where promoters can also feel like it's more than economical a thing is like to think of a building as a kid, like you are having a kid, you are constructing it, all of this, but when people go to live there, like the building, it's also going to be a teenager, so it's going to be also growing things, like it was really interesting, the simile, because it was like he's going to be growing, things are going to be changing, like maintenance, all of this, and then he's going to be an adult, and then he's going to be really old, and like you need to take care of it. So it's not like only something you build and then you go, like he's going to still be there. So,
Yeah, it's
and
your
many
child.
years, and many people will go and leave and go and leave. So it was a really interesting thing. When you say it, you remember it to me. So
Yeah, for me that's a little bit the idea. Sometimes it's challenging because the promoter then changes to the owner, and then the owner sells it. So sometimes it's a little bit tricky to make that traceability. But I guess with the current normative, we can see the pressure in each of the of the stakeholders. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and it's a takeaway. Like you've mentioned it so many times, and I think it's very important when you have like such big projects, regardless if it's like new construction or you're doing rehabilitation of something. It's like to have all stakeholders and team adhering towards a common value, like to a common value that it's low emission buildings for our sustainable future, I would say.
Yeah, I think those who work in construction sector, we know that the projects, whether at design or implementation, they are always late. They from the start they are late. So time is so valuable. So this is why there has to be like a really team effort in not only from the part of the carbon accounting team or the environmental or the certification of LEED or BREEAM, but of each one of the actors, because each one of us have a different role, and it's important. I can see the difference when, like I was saying, when the environmental goal is set as the major thing in the project, then you can see the change in the team, and it's to be part of it and to be part of the conversation allows the result to be way more easy because you get access to data in
Mhm.
a more friendly way, let's say, or I don't know. It's for me, it's what has to be the standard.
yeah, because also, I guess that will help you to other projects, no? Like each project you do, with the ones that you show, we already can see like all of these best practices, you are already knowing them for the next project, and you can also get this experience to maybe to another project. It doesn't apply the same exact things, but you already have a lot of good learnings.
Yeah, and also as we have seen it, like the biggest amount of the decisions, the earlier impact the best on the whole life carbon. So it is important that from the conception of a project, you integrate this. Like, for example, the first case study was referred and already perceived as an environmental project with the bioclimatic strategies, with the use of regenerative materials, with the optimization of wood and so on. So it changes the narrative. It's not, we do, I think LCA acts a lot like the support tool of good and sustainable architecture, I would say. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Clara and Lizette, for such an insightful conversation. As I mentioned, I'm very excited about it. Like it's very interesting as topic. And before we are gonna be moving towards our live Q&A, I would love to give you guys, our audience, the opportunity to receive a free custom consultation to learn how to leverage LCA to your advantage in your line of work. So it's gonna take just very quick, and we're gonna go to the Q&A. But if One Click LCA sounds like a solution for your needs, our business team of software experts would love to provide a tailored consultation to show you how the software might work just for you. And if you are live streaming today's event, you will see a poll pop up and just asking you this question. So just click yes, and someone from our business team and our expert will get in touch with you. And hope everyone had time, and we'll start our Q&A now. So let's see what our first question is, and it's from Alona. Are there for the calculation of CO2 footprint of the materials the scope 1, 2, and 3 from GHP included?
Are there for the calculation? Well, we're working with scope 1, which is the direct construction of a building or the rehabilitation of the building. Both of the projects were focused on counting with local suppliers for most of the materials, so you can, let's say, work on a little bit on the supplier side or like reduce the transport embodied carbon associated with that part of the supplier, but it's mostly focused on scope 1.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And next question from Mohammed. Have you considered the integration between the environmental impacts, performance, and cost? For example, a solution may be the optimum in terms of environmental impact, but not perform well, for example, structural.
I'm not sure if I am understanding this question. Have you considered the integration between environmental impacts, performance, and cost? For example, a solution may be the optimum in terms of performance. Yes, yeah. This was really important. And how I was mentioning in the second project in the hospital, it was the structural part cannot not perform. So I think we try to go away and find the best that we have now, like the best option regarding materials and so on, because sometimes we see new materials, new designs, and so on to be brought up to the public attention, or the manufacturers are available, but then in reality they don't perform for the type of site that we're having, for the type of climate, and so on. So what we do is, like, first we analyze the performing part, the technical performance, then we do the environmental impact, and then we evaluate the cost. That will be the priority, and so on. And we use a lot the comparison option in One Click to evaluate different materials, and then we have cost and carbon associated to it. So, yes.
Yeah, I also wanted to add, like, in One Click, when you have a project and you have already done the environmental impact only, like the CO2, and then you haven't think about it maybe, but then you think about it like a month later and you want to do the cost. If you add the cost tool, you don't need to introduce the materials and everything again. Like, it will take the things that you already have, so you can use the same project. Like, I'm sure Liz has done that a million times, but
So thank you for the answer, and I hope that answers the question. So the next question we have coming from Alexandra. So the question is, did you struggle to create scenarios at any time due to lack of data in the databases systems used?
Yes. No, I think data is always a struggle, no matter what industry and which sector. And especially in construction, that I think is a latecomer in EPD's production. And so what we did in some of these cases were trying to use, let's say, equivalent EPDs to try to do the filling of the data that we didn't count. But what we're trying to do is like just optimize and take the best decision. It was like a lot of work to create scenarios at one point and another, but I think regarding this the past 2 years, the software has also optimized and improved the time invested in each scenario that we draw. So I think it is always time restricted, but it is manageable. I don't know if
Yeah,
that
and
answers
sorry.
the question. Did I struggle? Yes.
Yeah, I think everyone
Did
struggles
I
with
manage
data.
to
It's
do?
like,
Yeah, it's a little bit challenging to communicate. To this is why I was like putting a lot of effort of telling how it's important to for your client or your design team to understand how much it entails every task demanded regarding the carbon calculation. So, but yeah, we managed to create some models to do it.
and I also wanted to add that we, from One Click, we are trying also from manufacturers to do EPDs, so to have more data, because we can create generic data, but at the end of the day, like the EPDs is the most reliable thing. So if you know a manufacturer and they don't have EPD, they have to do it. That's a very important thing to know.
Like
Yeah.
that's the reason to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes what happened to me was that I had the same material, the same, or what happens is that when you are using some really high innovative material, like let's say hemp, uh, we have the manufacturer, but the EPD is not available. Or you have some really good material, or you have the exact same material, but it's out of date. Like the EPD is out of date. So sometimes you have to find equivalents so you can calculate the overall footprint, because else it's endless the work. In
Yeah, because what happens also to us is that sometimes the manufacturer is like, I mean, my product is not super innovative or super good in the footprint, so I don't have the need to publish an EPD. But the thing is that it's not good or bad. You're just publishing your impact. So for any company, like the thing is being visible, like any company, like you are choosing a lot of materials, and for some project, maybe you are not going to choose the best one. You just need the one that is the most similar to the material you're using. So it's from a manufacturer that it's not the best one, but they want, like they need to have the impact visible. So you can also compare different ones from the market, but if some of them are not visible, it's like there's that lack of data of, okay, I have only the best ones of the market, but what is in the market, in the real
yeah,
market? But
Yeah,
yeah.
so basically, like we can just create like this tag, create EPDs to bridge the gap in data.
Yeah.
please make manufacturers please make EPDs more friendly and more accessible.
So thank you for the discussion. And the next question, yeah,
Yeah, see, now I was gonna say we have another
yeah,
question.
we have another question just coming in, and it's from Monica. So, at what time in the project process you were jumping in with LCA calculation?
I'm guessing this refers to at what time in the project process. Well, I think I didn't went into too deep into this part because I didn't want this seminar to be about the process of doing an LCA. Rather, what were the qualities that I found into the tool that make me believe in like the reshape of design. But what we say is that after you normalize, after you have the bill of materials and you normalize the quantities. For us, at least internally in Aiguasol, we normalize the quantities because you don't know if the EPD you're going to get will be available in square meters, in cubic meters. So sometimes you need to previously working with the calculation, normalize your quantities in the most common use unit, and then you're matching the material and the quantity with the available EPD. So after that, you have the carbon emissions for each material, each construction solution, and each building part, and the sum of that is the LCA or the embodied carbon. Yes, I hope that answers the question to Monica.
Yes, thank you so much. And we're ready to take our last question from Ria. If scope 2 and 3 were not included, did the initial baseline data only include scope 1?
Yes, I think, yeah, that is a yes. We work with, in both cases, well, in the VELINDRE Hospital, we work with RIBA and UK net zero building country goals. So for each new building project, it's set that the embodied carbon will be around 500 kilograms of CO2 per square meter constructed. So it's mostly focused on in the construction part of the building. Of course, we include the calculation of the end of life and the building use and so on. But I think it is, as per now, as I understand properly, I think it's only related to scope 1.
Okay, thank you so much for your questions and your answers. It was very delightful. And we're gonna start slowly wrapping it up. So to get to know more about Aiguasol, please find details on the screen or visit the link that will be dropped in the chat. And yes, contact Lissette directly as well. And finally, we, like at One Click LCA, we're always happy to hear from you. So if you would like to contact at One Click LCA, please visit our website at oneclicklca.com. And you're also welcome to follow us on LinkedIn and check out our YouTube channel. We have a lot of educational videos and tutorials. And also this session is going to be there as well for everyone to watch. So we are working into making the industry more sustainable together. So it's a common effort. So that's it for today and see you next time.
Thank you.